right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our live Bowl TV coverage of the 2016 USBC Senior Masters here at Samstown Bowling Center in Las Vegas. This is Matt Canizar alongside Hall of Famer Parker Bowling III, and we'll have the entire step ladder for you here from lanes 19 and 20 at Samstown. Right now we have Ron Mohr, the number 5 seed, taking on Andy Neuer, the number 4 seed. One lefty, one righty. Ron Mohr, super senior, had some success here this week in the Super Senior Classic. We'll talk more about that as the match unfolds. Parker, how are you today?
I'm doing just fine, Matt. How are you?
All right, we're doing okay. Had a long week of competition here. 15 games of qualifying over 3 days. Parker dominant in those 15 games, set a record for qualifying. But as we know here at the Senior Masters, the unique format, once qualifying is over, it's a new day, a new event. And we get into match play, the double elimination match play bracket. 3-game matches, total pinfall decides who advances. And things change at that point. These 5 gentlemen we'll see today: Mohr, Neuer. The winner will take on Paul McCordic, the left-hander. Winner there goes to meet Dave Arnold. And our tournament leader, number 1 seed, must be defeated twice for the 2nd year in a row, Pete Weber.
Yeah, it's going to be a great show, that's for sure. You know, you talk about the pins that I had knocked over in the 15 games of qualifying. Everyone knows coming in that regardless of how many pins you knock over, all the pins are wiped out. You mainly just have to get to the top 63 plus a defending champion. This year that was Amleto, and he qualified easily in the top 64. So it ultimately turns out to just jockey yourself, if you want to say, get to that top 64. It sets up bracket-style finals, winner's bracket, loser's bracket, and, well, then you have to figure out how to triumph your opponent over a 3-game set. And the 5 guys that are standing here before us right now, obviously, they've gone the distance and outlasted everybody else.
All right, we'll talk about that 64. You get in there and things change a little bit. Obviously, the amount of traffic on the lanes changes, the way the lanes transition. At that point, it's head-to-head, you against your opponent, and just a little different environment as well, and a long road potentially.
Totally different mindset. I mean, you literally, in qualifying, you're playing, let me just say, you're playing the way that the field plays the lanes. Many a times that I've bowled the Masters, I'll be playing somewhere between 7 and 12, potentially 7 and 15, depending how many lefties are in front of me or what's going on with the lanes themselves. But it is amazing the minute you start match play, and it's just you and one other competitor on the pair, you will find out that you can play the lanes somewhere 3, 4, 5, 4, 5, 6, a little bit more determining the way that you want to play the lanes based on how you break them down, and more importantly, following your own transition as things progress.
So definitely a different strategy, especially when you get into a match situation with one lefty, one righty, where you're going a fresh pair of lanes. You have that opportunity to set them up how you're comfortable. We're not exactly seeing that here in our step ladder, but we do have one lefty, one righty right now. 2 lefties in the top 5. But Parker, what are we seeing so far here right now? The guys looked pretty lined up in practice. TV lights come on, and now Ron Mohr, no strikes through 3 frames, and Neuer, a couple good shots. Still new to the scene here. It's been a while since Andy's been on TV as well.
It's been quite a while since Andy's been here, but we can break down the process right now. You know, looking at Ron Mohr, no, he doesn't have a strike through the first 3 frames, but more importantly, he wants to try to make sure that he's totally got the lanes figured out. You don't want to hand the match over early. Ron definitely has the left lane hooking more for him, the right side. It appears that lane 19 certainly hooks more. His first shot, he left a kind of a soft 10 pin, threw a great shot for a ring and 10 on the right lane, and then goes light once again. 3 spares, has things somewhat, I'll say, in his hands. He can just take it one step at a time from there. Andy, on the other hand, being on the left side of the lane, and I know this pair very good, the right lane certainly hooks more on the left side. The first one, I'll say bluntly, he hasn't been on the TV stepladder finals for quite some time. Just didn't get the first one off his hand, went Brooklyn for the strike, threw one relatively decent for a soft 7 there in the 2nd frame, and then doesn't quite give it room again, cuts it off a little bit for a baby split here, and Well, a little bit short on that one, but that is the lane that hooks on the left side of the lane. So as things progress and go on forward, we'll just see how it plays out.
Well, Ron Mohr with some experience on this pair of lanes as well. He told us a week ago now during the Super Senior Classic even that 19 definitely hooked more. So he just one of those characteristics of the house and the pair of lanes. You know, definitely good to have that information going in. It's how he can use that to his advantage now as he bowls through this step ladder.
Oh yeah, and there's no question that Ron's been bowling extremely well. When you look at his track record this year out on the PBA 50 Tour, and then obviously leading the tournament last week in the Super Senior Masters, comes in this week, find himself in the top 5 again. So he's really learned how to play, and not just this week or for the past few weeks, but he has certainly learned how to play his own transition, going accordingly and keeping the lane under control. And well, right now, even though he doesn't have a strike through the first 3 frames, he finds himself currently in the lead.
Absolutely. Ron Mohr looking at a 10-pin advantage here as we near the halfway point. 8-time PBA 50 titleist, 2-time Player of the Year. And his pro career really didn't start until he turned 50.
Yeah, he definitely lived up in Alaska there for, oh my God, I'm going to say decades. I believe he was some sort of air flight controller of some nature. I don't know the exact regiments behind what his work schedule was, but although he loved bowling from within his heart, he stayed home to have a solidified job and chose not to follow the tour everywhere that the tour went, but he still bowled competitively as much as he possibly could. As we watch him get a little bit of a slow messenger over there in that right lane for his first strike.
Well, we had the shootout round yesterday. Once we got down to the final 4 players in our elimination bracket, they went out there and they all bowled one match, 3 games, all 4 of them on one pair, and 3 advanced to the step ladder in order of score. So Paul McCordic was the high man in that shootout round, 738. Then Andy Neuer shot 260 the last game to get the number 4 seed, and then Ron Mohr did exactly kind of what he's doing right now, filling frames, making spares, and kind of cruised in. He was plus 29 after 1, and finished with 633, so just stayed clean. And Joseph Goldstein Sr., the 4th member of that shootout, shot 550, and he was eliminated, but had a great week. We called him the giant killer this week. He took down Walter Ray Williams Jr. and Brian Voss in back-to-back matches.
I'll tell you what, Joe had a great week. I know that he come up a little bit short here for the TV show. Unfortunately, someone in that 4-man shootout is going to come up short regardless of the score. But Joe Goldstein had an exceptional week out here in the Senior Masters, and something that he can recollect and look back on and hopefully build upon it for the future, down the road. As you watch Andy come up high once again, there's no doubt that the right lane hooks more on the left side.
So 3 shots on the right lane and almost identical shots. So at that point, Parker, what's the move? And it didn't look like there was much of any. But you'd think with...
Well, he's got to give the ball a little bit of room on that right lane. He's thrown 3 shots in a row that he's gotten inside of target, and that lane will not hold line. Lane 19, I believe, if he gets it in a little bit, will hold line. As you've watched, the ball does not break loose from the lane. But lane 20, if you get it in, cut it off a little bit, you're gonna pay the penalty. The ball's gonna go through the nose.
All right,
and like we just said, lane 19 being tighter, he does a ball change, and it's not so much I think that he needed the ball change. I think he just needed to make a little bit more of a quality shot. But if there's one thing that's hold true for Andy, watching him bowl through this event, and well, it makes a great spare shot there. There's one thing that holds true for Andy. Quite a few matches he's bowled 250 or 260 the last game to triumph his opponent. And when you look at his, I'll say, career bowling-wise, he has more 300 games, more 800 sets than anybody else in USBC history. When you look at those numbers, he's not afraid to throw strikes once he gets lined up. So if he can figure something out, if he can settle down and make some good shots, I know he's trying to figure that out right now, but if he gets that under his belt, if Ron doesn't, post 2 or 3 in a row here, don't be surprised if Andy's back in this match before we get to the 10th frame.
All right, here we are, frame number 6 for Ron Mohr. Another great shot, and he leads by 23 at the halfway point here. So not too much room left for Andy to get things going. Just Unlike the rest of the Masters here, the Senior Masters, a one-game match today for the stepladder compared to 3 games, again, where, as you mentioned, Andy really could get things going and get some momentum later in the match. But a little different format here for the stepladder. And just, again, part of the uniqueness of the event. You go from qualifying where, as you saw Parker Bone able to dominate this week, and it means another spot in the record book, but once you get to match play, it all evens out. And now here we are again, a little bit different format.
Records are one thing, but the check-in trophy is another. So we watch Ron Mohr up here in the 7th frame. On the lane, it hooks a little bit more. Great shot there. Posts a double on the board. Well, Ron is, he's pacing 2-0 pace, but, you know, Andy still can get lined up here and strike out for 214, so. But he's almost put his back to the wall that he needs to start producing something and putting some X's on the board.
So this right lane is gonna
tell
tell the tale.
He gave that one some room. Yeah, much better shot that time. He gave it some room. He got it where he needed to. I know it was a ring 7, not exactly the result he was looking for, but at least the ball got to the pocket.
Well, good news for Andy, he does not have to finish on that lane.
Yeah.
So if he can get himself in position to make a move here, it looks much more comfortable on the left.
His score is certainly not reflective of how he bowled this week, that's for sure. When you look up through 7 frames, he's got 3 splits and 1 strike, and folks, I can certainly tell you that Andy's bowled a lot better for the week than he currently has this game so far. So settle down and make a good shot and hopefully get a good result. Hey.
Andy came through our winner's bracket, made it to the match before the match that decided the number 1 and 2 seeds. So he was right there. Lost to Dave Arnold, 691 to 632. Then automatically seeded into the shootout round, where again he finished behind Paul McCordic to earn the number 4 seed for the stepladder. But a great consistent week. We saw him, you know, block to block and just winning matches with those big shots.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely come through at the end quite a few matches, but unfortunately right now he needs a little help from Ron Mohr if he's going to continue to advance through this match. And he got a little bit. That was not Ron's best shot, and Ron is extremely thankful to get 9 on that one. That could have not only been the count loss, but it also could have been a pretty good open split. Fortunately, he only leaves 1. Hopefully, Ron's actually a very good spare shooter, so I don't want to jinx him here, but he'll fill the frame and move right along. At least he didn't let me down.
All right, so Ron Mohr in control here. Andy Neuer best he can get 203. And Ron just needing to stay clean really here as we wrap things up.
You know, you look at Ron, and here's somebody that's 60 years old, super senior, might even be 61, I don't know that exactly, but I'm going to tell you, he can definitely go post a workout with anybody. Somebody like him, believe it or not, folks, he does somewhere between 500 and 600 sit-ups daily. Not to forget the 300 or 400 push-ups that he does daily. So his workout regimen is extremely way up on the chart. As that lane breaks a little loose, goes high, leaving the 3-6, and I'll tell you right now, Andy has a small glimmer of hope here if he can strike out here in the 9th and 10th. Even for Ron, it looks like he needs to just settle down and try to get a little bit better grasp on what's going on the pair of lanes.
All right, so Ron Mohr clean through 9 frames. And certainly can get a little pressure on him here if Andy Neuer can throw the next 3 or 4.
This is the key lane for Andy. Andy has to make sure he gets it out and give the ball a chance. Didn't give it a chance there. Even you watch his movement, he showed with his hand, he's got to get the ball out. You have to get it left on that lane or find a ball that doesn't grab quite as early.
See, I don't know that we saw that ball during the week at all. But you mentioned Andy's PBA 50 debut just coming up recently. Just turned 50 within the last couple months. And
yes.
Made his debut at the Senior US Open. And now to come out here and have this type of showing, make the stepladder at the Senior Masters. Definitely no slouch. You mentioned all of his record scores for USBC 300s, 800s. Also a PBA national title in 1994.
Andy is certainly a product of the game. He bowled out on tour for somewhere around 10 or 12 years. He chased the PBA tour around. He was, I'll say, politely enabled himself to capture one PBA title, a memory that he'll have for the rest of his lifetime. But more importantly, as a player, as a competitor and a bowler, he knows the game through thick and thin. He's a product of the game. He looks at it, he works at it, he tries to help people in his local community go out there. He owns a facility in his hometown there in Pennsylvania, and just all out, just great guy.
All right, no doubt we're going to see him again down the line as the Senior Tour moves on. And now that he's 50 and looking to be in pretty good bowling shape, throwing big games this week. He's going to finish with 181 here.
I know he's disappointed by that game, you know, only bowling 180. Certainly not reflective of something that he was looking forward to, but he had a really solid week, and he's got to take all the positives. His second PBA 50 event, he finds himself here in the top 5. And, well, although Ron Mohr didn't exactly bowl the big stellar game against him, Ron Mohr is no slouch to the PBA 50 tour, that's for certain.
8-time titleist, 2-time player of the year. Filling frames here, picking up a crucial double there in the 6th and 7th frame, and that was enough to hold off the left-hander.
Clean game. It's amazing. People don't forget. You can't forget. The game is made of spares and strikes. As you look right there, Ron Mohr did not bowl a stacked game of 240 or 250. He bowled a solid game, filling every single frame, regardless of what he does here in the 11th/12th. 200. 200's a winner when your opponent posts a couple opens and unfortunately can't string a couple of strikes together.
So Ron Mohr's going to fish things out here. He will advance to face another left-hander in Paul McCordic. Now I think, Parker, something we talked about earlier too is you know, the way that things happen with the traffic throughout qualifying, the number of left-handers in the field. Lefties bowled well early, and folks were predicting that they were going to get run over by the left-handers this week.
Oh, yeah.
And then once you get to match play, you got one lefty, one righty. Things change. The strategy, the environment, a little bit different. Less traffic on the right, so the opportunity to maybe move less. And
it's, you know, it's really sad when you listen to everybody talk and give their opinions as to what's going to happen after the first round of qualifying. The tournament is played on the condition from start to finish. When you look at an event that goes on for more than one day, let the tournament play out and then say what you want after the event is done. You don't win a multiple day event or a tournament of this magnitude. You certainly do not win it in the first round of qualifying. I can attest to that. You don't even win it after qualifying is over. I can also attest to that. That being the case, you have to let the tournament play out. You got to let the matches play out. Certain guys are going to make the right shots at the right time, and unfortunately, certain guys are not going to see that shot at the right time. So regardless whether it's good or bad, let's all sit here and watch as we watch the final 4 players try to work their way up the ladder and hopefully get to Pete Weber for the title.
all right, coming up next, folks, Ron Mohr was your number 5 seed. He defeats Andy Neuer, 212 to 181. Mohr now will advance to face Paul McCordic, the journeyman out here on the senior tour now, super senior. Mr. McCordic, his brother, bowled 300 on TV back in the day, and Paul's been around, now trying to pick up his first PBA 50 tour title here at the Senior Masters. We'll have Mohr and McCordic coming up next. Stay tuned. This is Matt Cannizzaro and Parker Bone, and we are live here at Sam's Town Bowling Center in Las Vegas. Match number 2 coming right up. All right, folks, we are ready for match number 2. Left-hander Paul McCordic and right-hander Ron Mohr, both super seniors. Both spent some time here in the last 2 weeks at the ITRC Super Senior Classic and now the USBC Senior Masters. This is Matt Canizaro alongside Parker Bowen III and Aaron Smith in the booth as well. He is the hard-working stats guy right now, keeping things going on social media and Bowl TV. Been here all week long. And now we're looking forward to another exciting match here. First match, Mohr over Andy Neuer, 212-181. And now we see our second left-hander in the 5. McCordic earned the number 3 seed by winning the shootout round yesterday for the last 4 bowlers in the elimination bracket. And everybody in the stepladder except top seed Pete Weber with 1 loss in this event. So once they get to Pete, Pete must be beaten twice in order to lose the opportunity to hoist that trophy here in 2016.
Can I say good luck to whoever bowls him?
Absolutely. So we're still a few matches away from Mr. Weber, but he is on quite the tear this year, winning 4 consecutive PBA 50 events, and he was the leader in the 5th. Could have made it 5 in a row. Fell to Noel Vasquez last week, and now the number 1 seed again. So bowling for the title 6 consecutive times. I don't know that that's even ever been heard of.
To say that Pete is bowling great is probably an understatement. He is definitely in his own league right now. I mean, Pete's always in his own league. We all know that, but he's definitely on a roll right now that's unprecedented by anybody else. That's for sure. But these 2 guys right now, they have something to say about that as they're battling out amongst themselves. So we watch Ron Mohr get up here in the 2nd frame. Pretty good shot the 1st frame for a 4-pin, so.
Well, we saw Ron clean in the 1st match, threw a double in the 6th and 7th, and then 2 more in the 10th to get to that 212 number. We know the left lane hooks more than the right lane. He's been pretty adamant about that and doing that mental note. But here, high again in the 2nd frame, leaves the 610. And now Parker, tell us a little bit about this 40-foot pattern. A little bit heavier volume at 28.84 mils. Kegel ice oil gets to be a little bit tricky sometimes too with the delay of the transition. But what did you see this week in qualifying, and then as we got into match play, and it was a little bit different, especially with 1 lefty, 1 righty?
Yeah, well, the way that the lane's played, you could play a little bit further outside on both sides of the lane in the beginning. And when I say in the beginning, you really have to look at what was going on with the traffic on the lanes. So let's break it down qualifying purposes. With the amount of bowlers that were on the lanes, you have players basically playing, I don't want to say everywhere, but bluntly they are playing everywhere. And more traffic on the right. So therefore you have certain guys that are playing, let's say 2, 3, 4, 1st arrow, 2nd arrow, and occasionally you're going to have a couple of them in there at the 3rd arrow going out. And it really breaks the lane down differently. Whereas the left side, for the most part, most of the lefties were playing somewhere, I'll say, in the track area 5, 6, 7. That's what it seemed like to be the best or the most advantageous way to cross the center. And as the lanes broke down, obviously everybody moved in, a little bit deeper on the lanes. Lefties probably didn't get any deeper than, I'm going to say, 10 or 11 for the most part, at least at the arrows, the guys that were hitting them really good. And on the right side, by all means, especially come the double burn squad, they were in there between 3rd and 4th arrow with 1 or 2 players possibly deeper than the 4th arrow because of the way that their ball's seen in the lane. Then match play began. Once match play began, it seemed like all the players that bowled relatively well could break the lane down somewhere around the 1st arrow. So we watched Paul throw a great shot there. They could break the lane somewhere down around the 1st arrow and migrate in a little bit from there. Pete, the uniqueness that he has with the role that he has and as good as he's been bowling, I'll say his ball would probably be somewhere 13, 14 at the arrows, and he was floating it out to 5 using the lane to the best of his ability. And while unquestionably, the record stands for itself. He's the tournament leader.
All right, well, here in our match, Mohr and McCordic. And we saw Ron Mohr kind of grind through the 1st game. Great shot there.
Yeah.
Now for McCordic coming in as the 2nd left-hander in the stepladder, we saw Neuer in the 1st match high on the right lane 3 times, and then obviously unable to put together any momentum or double, and still had a chance in the match going into the 9th and 10th frame. But now, if you're Paul McCordic coming out here on this pair, I'm sure you watched Neuer in his frames. What do you do? I mean, Paul obviously figured out the formula. He's 3 for 3 so far.
Well, he's 3 for 3 so far, but he did go high and trip out the 6-pin on the right lane. But if you noticed, Paul is selected to finish on the right lane. So obviously, he likes the right lane better than he does the left lane, as he's elected to finish on the right lane and ultimately finishing the match after Ron has done. Another great shot there. That was a really good shot there, Ron Mohr.
Well, Paul did tell me when he pulled the double burn, he had a big finish with 270 to really jump in the standings. And he told me it's because he finally got to a part of the event where he could get the ball to hook and get some shape. And we're seeing that again. You said lane 20 being his preference. That's the lane that hooks. So he likes to get right and give it a little room. And right now, 3 for 3. Yesterday, he shot 290 to start the shootout round. Another great shot from him.
Great shot there.
But, yeah, 290 and ends up winning that. And just the later it gets, and he gets more comfortable. So I think his comfort level being the second lefty in the stepladder, probably a little bit higher than it would have been had he had to start the thing.
Could be. And that does play in for everybody when you're looking at that. I'll say this. Paul, I've got to know Paul very good over the last 2 or 3 years out here on the PBA 50 tour. I know his brother Pete much better than Paul, and when I say that, this is getting up here to shoot a 7-pin, pretty good shot. Pete was actually my induction, if you want to say, to the PBA tour, as it was my first telecast I ever bowled, was against Pete McCordic on TV. And you know what they told me after one game, 10 frames, 245, you have a tie. Now you can bowl a 9th and 10th frame roll-off. So that's how I got initiated to the PBA Tour telecast. But that being said, Paul had been struggling a little bit earlier this year. I know I talked to him just a little bit, but mainly he had a long conversation with his brother. He went home and discussed 1 or 2 things, and Pete looked at his game and said, Paul, work on this. Try to get it out there, make it move, project it out on a lane, and, well, lo and behold, he's got a great week going right now and looking to really capitalize on it here, hopefully with a couple of good matches here today.
All right, Pete and Paul McCordic are twins. And a couple of years ago, right before the Super Senior Classic, they turned 60, celebrated their birthday by bowling well at that event. Always in the mix at our senior tournaments. And Pete, right now, down in Texas, running. He's the PBA Southwest Region Manager, so
yes,
running a big regional event down there in Lubbock this weekend, so he did not get to stay for the Senior Masters. But Paul representing the family well here and trying to make it onto our next match to take on Dave Arnold. So we will see again. Pete, known for 300 game on TV, hard-working guy down there in the Southwest, and now Paul making a name for himself, looking for his first PBA 50 title. However, Ron Mohr trying to stand in his way right now, working on a double. Ron made a ball change on the left lane and threw a couple great shots there, and he's sticking with that change, and looked like he went to something maybe a little shinier even.
It looks that way. He actually, his best 2 shots of the day so far came the last 2 shots he's thrown, so we'll have to see how he can produce and capitalize on that accordingly. But 5th frame, working on a double. 3 really quality shots in a row for Ron Mohr there.
Ron getting comfortable and again throwing 2 different balls here, 1 on each lane, and found success here as the runner-up at the Super Senior Classic. He was the top seed going into the stepladder. Bowled a great game in the title match. Carey was not on his side, and when it was all done, Junichi Yajima from Japan came out ahead, and again, a very, very well bowled match. The score didn't reflect it. He had 218, but a few 9 counts in there spread around, and you can't be upset about that performance. Leading qualifying, and just really getting outlucked, I guess. Both bowlers bowled well in the title match, but a chance at redemption here in the Senior Masters.
He was just bluntly on the wrong side of the coin toss. Giving it a little room, hoping to swish it. Comes back there and maneuvers him around, takes a 10-pin lead now after 5.5 frames. So
So Ron Mohr saving his strikes for game number 2 here and piling them on. 4-bagger. And McCordic needs to answer. He had the first 3 to start. Then 7-pin here on lane 20 with another great shot.
Well, he threw a quality shot for a ring in 7 and then went a little bit high for a 6-pin, but he's had 5 balls all in the pocket. And, you know, even Ron, after those first 2 frames, he had 2 frame fillers. He realized with Pete throwing a triple out of the gate, I better do something here to take hold of this match, because just filling frames, the pace of 2-0 does not appear that it's going to win this game.
And that one, a little wiggle to the left, and we saw that a lot this week, obviously with a more challenging condition. 40 feet, you know, if you miss left, it's not going to make you back necessarily. And if you miss in, as we saw with Neuer in the first match, you know, you're going to go through the face at least. Can you talk about the fresh condition and as things transitioned and got more comfortable? Johnny Petraglia, a perfect example, bowled a match against Norm Duke. And you figure it's going to be high scoring, 2 very talented players. Johnny shoots 300 the last game to win 790, 742 with Duke throwing the last 11 after 710 for 279 finish. So he said the more they bowled on that pair, you know, the more room they had, the more comfortable they got. Of course, I mean, that's generally how it's supposed to work.
Well, it typically does, not necessarily all the time, but the players themselves got very comfortable with where they were playing. And let's talk about Johnny and Norm here, and I understand that we have 2 players in front of us. But as the players get comfortable, they start to get a feel for the lanes, break them down a little bit more, and then when they see what their ball is doing, accordingly, they can make a confident move or a small adjustment, and all of a sudden, when they miss a little bit left, it gets back and tickles them, splashes them around, and when they get it a little bit in, where the ball may have gone high or even bluntly through the nose before, now the ball lays off a little bit and trips that 4-pin or 6-pin. Confidence level as a player really starts to go up. Ball tripping the 6, leaving the 8. You know, 4-9 counts, obviously. He's got control of the pocket, but I think even he knows that, you know, it looks like Ron has the right ball in his hand right now, and Paul's just got to sit here and watch the next couple of frames unfold, and then he better get up there and do his own work.
All right, Ron Mohr out in front here, working on a 4-bagger, getting ready to step up on lane 20. And Parker, your Senior Masters ended on this pair yesterday to Rick Steelsmith. It looked like it was going to be a ridiculously high-scoring match. Obviously, you started with 289, and Rick started with 284.
Yeah.
And then not sure what happened after that, or if it was even on the fresh at that point.
I fumbled, and he kept going. So we watch an unfortunate shot there by Ron Mohr, and he pays the full penalty for it, leaving the 4-6-7. Well, I can only explain for myself. I can't exactly explain for Rick. For myself, I had total control of everything that was going on there. And after our first game, looking the way that my ball was shaping through the pin, splitting the 8-9 more shots than not, I had the ultimate confidence. But then I lost a little feel for the thumb, started losing the ball a little bit from my hand. Well, initially I hung up in one, took some tape out, started losing it from my hand, and couldn't grasp onto that feel that I needed to. And then the fingerprints started stretching the pattern down a little bit, and I knew I needed to make a ball change, but because I couldn't make a good quality shot, I really couldn't get a true read off of what was going on. Made the proper ball change towards the end of game 2, unfortunately bowling only 190, but for me, Rick only bowled 205. Ron goes high and trips the 4 and leaving the 10, but the match was still relatively close. And then in the next game, I have nobody to blame but myself. Throwing a couple quality shots, throwing strikes, but then 2, I'll say, airmail shots. Well, when you throw it like that and you're bowling a great player like Rick Steelsmith, you're supposed to politely put your balls in your bag and leave, because he's going to advance.
All right, well, that match ended 745, 686 after the hot start. And we did see some of that the feel issues on the show there with losing the ball, missing left a couple times. And I mean, that's part of the game, and it's about getting comfortable. And right now, Paul McCordic I think getting a little more comfortable here. A sigh of relief, perhaps. But now it's time for him to step up and throw a big shot in a pressure situation.
He definitely got a little breather sitting on the chair there. He finds himself in the 8th frame here. Like that shot.
And he answers. The 9 almost didn't want to go, but he now leads by 3 here after 7 frames. And working on a strike. Ron Mohr with the split on the right, and then going high and leaving just the single pin on the left. But we have ourselves a match now.
Yeah, three-pin game with Paul with a strike in the 8th, getting up in the foundation frame here. Really can, if he strikes here, the whole match is in his own hands, regardless of what Ron Mohr does. But if Paul does not strike here, Ron Mohr can get up in the 9th and 10th and shut Paul out. 9th frame. How's he like it? Likes it pretty good right there.
All right, gets the 7 to go for the double, and he chose to finish on the right lane as the higher seed. So clearly that was where he felt more comfortable through practice, and now up to Ron Mohr to put the pressure on here. He faltered on this lane last time with the 4-6-7.
Yeah, he's found himself where he just put his back to the wall here, so he really needs to get up and post a great shot here. Gave it some room, looks good. Which way was the trip 4? That's much better than the last shot on that lane.
Gotta get a break every now and then. And, that one 4-pin going late. Still can get to 233. Again, if you're just joining us, you're watching live coverage of the stepladder finals here at the 2016 USBC Senior Masters. Matt Cannizzaro, Parker Bone III, and Aaron Smith live behind lanes 19 and 20 at Samstown Bowling Center in Las Vegas. Ron Mohr taking on Paul McCordic as we get down to the 10th frame, match number 2.
Ron is virtually stepping up here in the 10th, looking to try and double to put the pressure back on Paul. Got to take it one at a time, though. Nope. Cut that one off just a little bit. Once again, the left lane hooking more on the right side. That ball was not going to lay there the way that he wanted it to. Fortunately, only leaves a relatively makeable 2-pin spare. And, well, if he spares and strikes, he has 213. He's certainly going to need some help from Paul if he's going to advance past this match. Great spare shot there. That one gives that one a little bit more room, but the ball's still hooking, leaving a 4-pin for 212, so for Paul McCordic, it's pretty simple. If he gets 9 on the first ball, 9 or a strike here, the match is over. He will advance to bowl on number 2 seed Dave Arnold.
That is it. Aaron Smith on the numbers as well, and came up with the same calculation. So 9 out is enough. Ron Mohr with back-to-back 212s, but this time probably not going to be enough against McCordic.
Well, time will tell. 10th frame. Got that went in a little bit, but good enough for 9. Could have almost been a 6-8. So the 9 count there, regardless of what he does here. If he misses it, still 213. That's enough to advance to bowl in a semifinal match.
It's a big shot right there. I'm sure, being the seasoned veteran that he is, had an idea in his head of what he wanted to do or needed to do. Of course, you want to get up and deliver a strike in that situation anyway.
Absolutely. Strike always makes the next shot easier.
I think by nature sometimes we tend to think worst case. What do I need? Like what's the least I can do here, and still be okay.
Well, you always want to be aggressive and get every pin you can, but you know, if it's safe haven and you only need 3, throw it down the middle. When you need a good count, you better make a good quality strike shot. Strikes on the fill ball, ending with 225 for Paul McCordic over Ron Mohr's 212. Pretty good solid game there. Hit the pocket every shot and filled every frame. And he finds himself advancing against Dave Arnold.
All right, so coming up next, we will have Dave Arnold making his PBA 50 TV debut here on Bowl TV. A 52-year-old rookie on the senior tour. We'll talk more about Dave and his career in just a few minutes as they get their practice shots in. Ron Mohr finishes 4th at this week's event. 2 solid performances from Mr. Mohr at the Super Senior Classic, finishing 2nd. And now we return to the step ladder here at the Senior Masters. So he continues his great season on the PBA 50 Tour. Earlier, Andy Neuer finished 5th, losing to Ron at 212-181 in our first step ladder match.
It's unfortunate that Ron did lose, but I'll tell you what, as good as he's been bowling, and the fact that he made both step ladder finals here at the Super Senior Masters and obviously here at the Senior Masters, he's just got to look at the positives, take all the positives, move forward, and continue onward from there. He's having a great year out on tour so far, and I see no reason for that to change over the next couple of months.
Well, all you can do is put yourself in position, throw great shots when you need to, and we see that. And you know, being a regular in the step ladder, on top of the standings, and
he'll be back. There's no question. I don't believe he's done winning. He knows how to win. Obviously, he's won 8 times on the PBA Senior Tour or the PBA 50 Tour. He found himself in not 1 but 2 stepladder finals here this week, right here in his hometown of Las Vegas. Maybe sleeping in his own house in his own bed had something to do with that, but that being the case, he will be back. And when you get that close, even when you look at that match there, to the coin flip, sometimes you're going to be the guy that's going to be advancing by fortunate circumstances or unfortunate circumstances.
Well, a split for Ron Mohr proved to be his undoing. McCordic bowled a great game as well. He came out ahead 225 at 212. McCordic, the lone left-hander remaining on today's show. Pete Weber, of course, the top seed, looking for redemption from last year's Senior Masters. Lost twice to Amleto Monticelli in the final. Definitely some hurt after that one. I know the Masters, how much it means to Pete.
He's going to have something to say about that. I mean, Pete's never lacking the showmanship on the lanes. But I'm going to tell you right now, the fact that he lost back-to-back games against Amleto last year after he led the tournament, and the way that he lost them. 4-9 one game, 7-10, and both of them in the 10th frame, by the way. The 4-9 in the 10th frame one game, 7-10 in the 10th frame on the second game. I don't see the unfortunate luck unfolding that way for Pete Weber this year. That being said, whoever has to bowl him, if you think about Pete Weber bowling for a title and having 4 opportunities, and you're going to tell me he's going to lose all 4, the odds are really stacked against someone.
Pete, very, very motivated. Talked to him yesterday. Last year still stings a little bit, and we'll talk more about him and his run during our next match. But right now, it's going to be all about Dave Arnold and Paul McCordic coming up in just a moment. Live coverage of the 2016 USBC Senior Masters continues in just 1 minute. right, ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for our third match of the day. Left-hander Paul McCordic taking on PBA 50 Tour rookie Dave Arnold. We haven't seen Dave in a few years. He was a longtime player out there on the PBA Tour, 3 titles. Had a back injury that kept him sidelined there. He was exempt in the 9-10 season, I believe. Took a medical deferment, came back in 11 and 12 for the first time since the 02-03 season. And now at 52, a rookie on the tour and the number 2 seed this week. But we got a buzzsaw in Paul McCordic here, very motivated.
Paul is running him out right now, early on. I'm glad to see that.
Paul just took down Ron Mohr, 225-212 in our previous match, and now the opportunity here to face top seed Pete Weber on the line.
Well, Dave Arnold, very, very quiet guy. Doesn't really say too much, good or bad. He just keeps it all within himself and just goes up there and goes about his business. Playing the extreme outside line here on this pair. He's not the player that's going to go way in and go around it. I can guarantee you right now Pete's going to be much further inside going around the lane. Not that Dave's afraid to do that, but he knows his strengths and his A game are going to be keeping the lane shut down, going up at him, and he feels like he has enough hook out there that, well, he's going to take that into his own hands and try to make it work for him.
All right, well, Ron Mohr, right-handed, bowled 2 matches on this pair, and now Dave coming in, as you said, a little different strategy, playing straighter. Leaves the bucket on his first shot here, back on TV.
Well, it was close. At least he gave it a chance. And even though Ron has 2 games already under his belt on this pair, unfortunately, he's moving on, finishing in 4th place. Ron was much further inside than Dave, so not knowing exactly how the players went about practice, I'm going to say chances are Dave is out in his own territory there and sees the lane in a certain way that he's very comfortable with.
Terrific shot there on lane 19, and Dave threw some big shots this week in a couple of wins against Brian Voss and Jack Jurek. Came down to the 10th frame where Dave needed to step up and perform, and he did. Got past Brian Voss 6-12, 6-05, and then the very next match, Jack Jurek 6-12, 6-06. So not super high scoring, but pressure situation, needing to deliver in a 10th frame, and he did that. And then came up against Andy Neuer, big win, 691, 632, and then ran into Pete Weber in the match to determine who would be the number 1 seed. And Pete took that one 674, 589. But at that point, guaranteed a spot on the show. And some bowlers like having that extra game to kind of get loose and get an idea of it. Although the idea of being guaranteed a top 2 finish is also pretty good.
I think if we were to ask Dave right after that match if he wanted the extra game on TV, he more than likely would have said, no, I really wish I won the match.
Of course, now if he goes on to win the event, and because he felt more comfortable and got lined up, and definitely it worked out for the best. If not, you always want to be number 1, I think. You only have to lose 1 game, in this case 2 games on TV.
I can guarantee you I want to be number 1, and I don't care what tournament it is.
All right, well, $16,000 on top for the winner this week.
Great.
$9,000 for the runner-up. $7,000 for 3rd place. Ron Mohr taking home $5,000 for the 4th place finish, and Andy Neuer $4,000 for his 5th place effort. Total prize fund this week, 263 entries, more than $131,000. Again, 16 grand to the winner, and of course the prestige of being a winner at the Senior Masters.
Yeah, and even we're watching Paul get up. Great shot there for a ring in 7 in the 2nd frame. Follows it back by another quality shot in the 3rd frame. Before we forget, we really need to step out and thank the USBC for putting this great event together and all the fine work and dedication that went for all the people behind the scenes that really made this all possible. And equivalent to that, we need to reach out and thank Samstown. I mean, what a fabulous facility they got here. You really don't see it tucked downstairs here, but when you come in and walk or come down the escalator and you look around the corner and you look left and right and you go, oh my goodness, look at the size of this great center, how colorful it is, how lively it is. And it's just nothing but spectacular, clean, and just it really, really, truly has been a tremendous week for not just me, but I'm going to say 2 weeks when you add in the Super Seniors.
Yes, definitely. Samstown, a terrific host, as we brought in more than 125 of the best bowlers aged 60 and older. And came back this week with the USBC Senior Masters, 263 competitors. Essentially, we've been here nearly 2 weeks from setup until our TV show now. And we also want to thank our gold industry partners, Columbia 300, Hammer, Kegel, and Storm. Kegel putting together the 40-foot lane condition for us this week at the Senior Masters that challenged our competitors and will continue to do so. Dave Arnold, big three-bagger there with the
big three-bagger. That's almost the I would have to say that matches the most excitement that I've seen Dave Arnold have in almost a decade. So Dave's feeling it right now. Hasn't been in this situation for quite some time, and he's getting into it in the early goings.
A big-time performance this week for Mr. Arnold, and making his way back out on the PBA 50 Tour. Didn't get to talk to him too much about where he's been, what he's been up to, but perhaps later today get to catch up. And Mr. McCordic, now that right lane it was his choice earlier to finish there. Felt better there, but kind of a flat 7 there.
Yeah.
What's going on, Parker?
Well, he made a great shot there in the second frame. That ball just came in behind the head pin. It was a solid 7 before it went completely around a 7. That one there off his hand, obviously he didn't feel like he caught it as much as he needed to. Ball was a little lazy going through the pins, leaves a little half 7 there, but hopefully he'll make this spare. Looks like he's got it no problem, and he'll just have to move along. You know, last match he did have a triple, was able to keep it clean, kept everything around the pocket, and you know, fortunately posted a double there later on in the game, and 220 was enough. So, you know, from his standpoint right now, although he doesn't have a double, he's just got to keep pounding the pocket, pound the 1-2, and hopefully he can turn something good into here and roll a couple of strikes, and just have to see what Dave does as the match progresses.
All right, here's McCordic, 2 for 2 on the left lane. See if he can stay perfect there.
There's another pretty good shot over there. Remember, the left lane's a little tighter for him, so his ball saves a little bit more energy as it goes down the lane. And whereas on the right lane, he has to open it up a little bit more. And when you open up the lane, that means your ball has to utilize more energy to come around the corner in the back. If the ball starts to utilize that energy a little bit too quick, it's going to roll out, or in essence, won't have enough impedance going through the pins. So Paul will probably try to figure that out with either turning his hand a little more or possibly use a little bit more loft on that right lane to get the ball to knock the 7-pin out.
All right, here's Arnold looking for 4 in a row.
Looked like he got that one in.
And pays the price there, the 3-6-10.
Was not one of his better shots there. Unfortunately, that ball gets away from him. Inside of target, drifting high. Fortunately for him, he's got 3 pins that are, well, they're together. There's not a big hole wrapped around it.
All right, Dave already made that bucket in the first frame on this lane, and now, ever challenging 3-6-10, but at this level, I'm sure he's made 1 or 2 in his day.
I'm going to say that he shot this spare at least once this week. Trying to stand to the left, get the ball to fade all the way across the lane. Pretty much like that.
All right, folks, you're watching coverage of the 2016 USBC Senior Masters now. Dave Arnold leads Paul McCordic by 17 at the halfway point here of our semifinal match. Winner advances to take on top seed Pete Weber. We do appreciate everybody joining us here. We're live at Samstown Bowling Center in Las Vegas. Great host this week, and a lot of hard work here behind the scenes. Our industry partners, Kegel, everybody doing things to make this happen. $16,000 to the winner this week.
It's going to be a nice payday for somebody. We'll say one of the 3 gentlemen, and the one that you're not seeing yet is Pete Weber. That one he threw a little bit better, but because that lane hooks more, it just grabbed the lane a little bit too soon, jumping high, leaving the 3-6-10 once again.
Back to back.
Matt, I got to be honest. I know that he covered the last one really good, but I don't think he wants to continue to shoot this spare.
Definitely agree. Definitely a tough spare, and losing some count as well, both times.
Yes. That's a little left as well, and gets very fortunate to fill the frame there.
So leaves it twice back to back and picks it up 2 different ways, but
the score machine says spare. It just knows how many you've knocked over, not how you knocked them over.
All right, well, Paul McCordic with an opportunity here to double up and cut that deficit.
He can cut the deficit over the next 2 frames. A double on the board here. He goes from finding himself trailing to all of a sudden in the lead in total control. So 6th frame for Paul. Let's see what he's got here. Give a little extra loft. He likes it. Yeah, he liked that one. He got that one out on the lane really nice. Retained the energy for where it needed to and completely went through the pins. Perfect shot.
Big shot there on the lane that seemed to be giving him a little trouble, but a quick adjustment. And now a double on the board. And the momentum here in our 3rd match today at the Senior Masters. Dave Arnold staring at lane 20, probably thinking through his next move. And, was it him? Was it the ball? Was it the lane? Definitely with only a few frames left. Quick adjustments needed.
Yeah, on lane 20, he just has to settle down and make a good shot. Lane 19 will be the one that we got to see what happens. That one, it looked like he threw it relatively decent. Paul throws this one here, looking a little bit light all the way. Completely missed that one. That is the tighter lane for Paul, but completely missed that one at the bottom of the swing. Fortunately, leaving the 139, he didn't leave a washout, so looks like currently if you miss, you're going to get 7. Maybe these guys should be upstairs playing the tables right now.
Well, for the lefties this week, the miss, well, pretty much like that. You miss a little bit left, and it's not making it back. And we saw a lot of 3-7s and 3-7-9s. And for your roommate this week, John Donovan, even a couple key misses, washout, had a chance to go around you for the 1st round lead, and didn't know it. Needed one more strike, and we definitely didn't want to lose it at the bottom at all this week.
He must have felt sorry for me. I don't know if he feels that way, but no, he had a great week. Come out here, he bowled exceptional in qualifying. Match play didn't go exactly the way that he was looking forward to it, but I know, he's home right now. He's probably watching, tuning in like most other people, and he'll take the success out of this week and move on. Dave Arnold, great shot right there in the 7th frame.
Well, we talked about John Donovan. We talked about Andy Neuer being recently 50. It's the young guys. I guess that's what they are out here on the PBA 50 Tour. The young guys finding some success this week. So, along with the super seniors, Paul McCordic and Ron Mohr, both over 60. Just a wealth of talent out here. And there's at one point where it was, just a handful of Hall of Famers out there, and then some new guys trying to make names for themselves as well.
It's amazing every week that goes by, somebody else is going to hit that proverbial number. I think that the talk of the town right now, the next player that's actually eligible to come out here in the next couple of weeks is going to be Ryan Schaefer, who's going to turn 50. Dave got that one very wide. He gave it some room after going high on that lane, and unfortunately finds himself shooting the bucket. This will be the 4th multi-pin combination that Dave has shot this game, and well, all I can say is God bless him.
Well, Dave clinging to a small lead here over McCordic after 6 frames, and not losing any count there with the 6th count. But again, as a left-hander for me, the bucket and the 247 probably my 2 least favorite friends out there.
Yeah, you don't want to keep shooting those multi-pin spares because they're quite challenging. Chops and misses can definitely show up as we watch Dave shoot the bucket. Stretching it out there, but fills it completely. Finds himself with a 7-pin lead after 7.5 frames. Paul getting up on the right lane, working on a spare.
Threw a great shot on lane 20 to complete the double. Or now kind of flip-flopping on which lane's giving him trouble.
He's concentrating on this one right now. Looks relatively good. Can't throw him much better than that one.
Big shot there for McCordic in the 8th. Now going back to lane 19. Missed a head pin last time on this lane. Staring it down and thinking it through.
Well, he's thinking about it a little bit. He obviously got a little wide of target on lane 19. But I think the biggest thing is it just appeared that he lost the ball at the bottom of his swing. So, you know, take a split second. You got a strike working. You've got total control. The match is in your hands right now. If you can get up here right now and put a strike in this foundation frame, you can sit on the bench and watch your opponent and know that you control everything. Got that one going up the lane. Swishes them around and mixes them up.
All right, well, Paul now can get to 237. Cannot be shut out here. Dave Arnold can get to 234. That would put all the pressure on Paul, of course, to throw a double, but still a long way from there. Dave Arnold in a pretty much a must-strike situation.
Yeah, he's basically right there. You can't sit on the bench and hope that your opponent throws an open. It really doesn't work out in your favor too many times, so he better put the pedal to the metal and do some good work here. That's not the kind of work that he wants to see.
That one, at least from this angle, looked a little bit slow going down the lane, and now the 410.
He's not only the 410 he left up, but he is really in a must-make situation right now. He has to go for this. An open here and striking out in the 10th. He's going to hope at that point that Paul throws an open just like he's got looking at him in the eye. So I'm going to say that Dave is going to really give this a diligent shot. Get the ball somewhere over to the left side of the 4-pin in hopefulness of sliding it over right into the 10. Giving it a chance.
Awesome shot there
Look
for
at
Dave
that.
Arnold, picking up the 410 to stay alive in this match against Paul McCordic. The crowd here at Samstown goes wild.
That's a pretty great shot under the situation at hand.
Well, Dave proved earlier in the week he could strike when he needed to win a couple of matches, and now making some wild spares here. But time to settle in, and he's going to need 3 in the 10th here.
Should get him pumped up a little bit. Well, goes from bad to worse. Makes such a great shot at that spare conversion there in the 9th frame, and then gets up in the 10th, and the hook and lane once again. Gets it going up the lane, breaks a little loose, pays the full penalty for it.
All right, Arnold staring down the 4-6-7. Hoping to get it to bounce here, and it's going to be open in the 10th.
Yeah, not to be on that one there. Paul McCordic finds himself just, for the most part, keeping the ball on the lane. I don't see Paul throwing this ball anywhere out near the gutter, but he's going to try to make a good shot so that he can use it for a little bit of practice going into the next match as well. Yeah, right down the middle. That's the safe way.
He still gets them all to go for the 3-bagger. Now it's time to regroup and maybe try something here.
I'll tell you what, he might learn something from that, because that was right up the second arrow. And regardless of what he did or how he went about it, he tripped the 6 out pretty healthily. So he didn't flirt with the gutter that shot. This is definitely going to be a practice shot here.
Match in hand to Paul McCordic.
Throws that one out there pretty wide. Switches him around. in the 230s. Pretty good game, clean. Really only let one shot get away. And Paul McCordic is going to advance to the title match against Pete Weber.
Big match coming up for both players. Pete Weber looking for a PBA 50 record, a potential 5th title of the year. He'll be bowling for the championship for the 6th consecutive event. And then Paul McCordic in the hunt for his first PBA 50 title. He finishes with 235. So McCordic with 2 wins here in our step ladder. Took down Ron Mohr 225, 212. And now Dave Arnold, the PBA 50 rookie, 235, 198. In our opening match, Ron Mohr defeated Andy Neuer, also a rookie out here on the PBA 50 tour, 212 to 181. But now it's all about our number 1 seed, Pete Weber, top seed for the 2nd consecutive year. Last year, a couple bad breaks late in the games against Emleto Monticelli. Allowed Emleto to make the big shots and win the 2015 USBC Senior Masters. Pete Weber looking for redemption here in 2016.
I got to believe Pete has got a lot to say over these next 24 frames, if it goes that long. Personally, I don't think he wants to see it get past 12 frames, and I think there's no reason why it should if he gets out there and bowls the way that Pete Weber has been bowling over the last couple of months. He's literally on his own planet. He's been bowling better than everybody out here. And, you know, when I say that, as obviously a competitor, as a player, when you watch how he goes about it, the scores are dropped. We come out and bowl a little mini 6-game sprint in some of the formats we bowl. Or then you have this tournament here where it's basically a 3-game sprint match, him against an opponent. The only undefeated player last year. He's the only undefeated player again this year. After what happened to him last year, I think he's got a little something to say about it this week.
Very motivated Pete Weber for sure. And we know how much the Masters means to him. Either Masters, I know when he won in 2013, very emotional, an event that the Weber family hadn't won, whether it's the regular Masters or the senior version. And picked up that title in 13. And now looking to add to it. As he said yesterday, not a lot of guys with their name on 2 banners here. So, you know, a lot of motivation beyond just the $16,000 top prize. But we'll have that coming up in just a minute. Pete Weber and Paul McCordic for the title here at the 2016 USBC Senior Masters. Thanks for joining us. We'll have that match in just one moment. right, ladies and gentlemen, the stage is set now. The championship match at the 2016 USBC Senior Masters. This is Matt Cannizzaro alongside Parker Bone III and Aaron Smith behind the scenes, bringing it to you live from Samstown Bowling Center here in Las Vegas. Paul McCordic, the left-hander, taking on top seed Pete Weber. Pete, as the undefeated top seed, must be beaten twice in order to be denied the 2016 Senior Masters title. It happened last year. I don't think Pete's going to let that happen again, but Paul McCordic, not going to go away easily, that's for sure.
No, Paul is not going to go away easily as he starts off with a good solid strike there at first frame. But Pete's got something to say about this, and I think that he's going to certainly let his ball do the talking.
First shot from Weber on lane 20. Matches McCordic.
There's one great thing about the Masters, unlike a lot of other telecasts. The leader of this tournament, the guy that's gone undefeated, has to lose twice. And that is really what should happen in an event like this.
Well, the uniqueness of the event and Bowl TV allowing that to happen for the second consecutive year. But again, for Pete, not planning to bowl 2 championship matches today. First shot left lane. Rings the 10. Now last year,
great shot.
Last year in Green Bay, Wisconsin, Pete dominated at the regular Masters, made the TV show, came back in the summer, and was the top seed, dominating again at the Senior Masters. In the championship match, it was beaten by Emleto Monticelli 192 to 190 and 254, 243. Both games, Pete split in the 10th.
But relatively good shots. When you look at the 4-9 and then the next game he leaves a 7-10, I mean, he didn't just hand it away. If you had to take that chance again, take your chance on hitting the pocket just like he did. And more shots than not, they're all going to fall over, or you're going to at least turn that 8 split into a 9 count.
Certainly. Get up in that position, make aggressive shots, and just do what you do. And Emleto, certainly a experienced competitor, has big wins in his career.
Paul like that shot again. Giving a little extra loft, getting it out on the lane. Starts out with a great double. Paul certainly knows that he has a big task in front of him. Not only the fact that he's bowling a title match for a title that I'll say he hasn't had the opportunity to step up for yet, but he's in this situation right now because he bowled great all week, but he also has his hands full bowling inevitably one of the greatest players of all time, Pete Weber.
One of the greatest of all time, and red hot here in 2016. Weber bowling for the title for the 6th consecutive time.
What a shot that one was.
Paul McCordic 3 for 3 here in our first championship match. Pete Weber had 4 consecutive wins on the PBA 50 Tour this year. Finished 2nd last week as the #1 seed. But another win this year gives him the record for most titles in a PBA 50 season. And the fact that he's going to make it possibly 5 out of 6 is unbelievably impressive.
Well, regardless whether he wins here today, he's not done yet this season. Great shot by Pete. Wouldn't expect anything less. Up on the left lane, traditionally the lane that hooks a little bit more. So, threw a quality shot in frame 2 for ring 10. I'm sure he doesn't want to see that again, but
Pete Weber gets to the left lane there, but down early here in our championship match. Again, the format this week, all competitors. There was 263 of them in the field. Bowled 15 games of qualifying over 3 days. That was in 5-game blocks. We cut the field down to the top 63 plus our defending champion Embleto Monticelli for the double elimination match play bracket. All pinfall went away. It was head-to-head matches. You and your opponent on a pair of lanes. Double elimination over 2 days. A lot of bowling, long days. And for McCordic, making his way through the elimination bracket, definitely had to do some work. Pete Weber, undefeated as the #1 seed now.
Paul stepping up to the plate. I'll tell you what, that's probably 4 of the best shots he's thrown all week. And he really needs it bowling against Pete Weber. He doesn't want to let one slip away right now.
Pete Weber, the #2 qualifier this week, behind you, sir, Mr. Parker Bone III. You set a record through the 15 games, and then Pete stepped it up in match play, averaging more than 239. His lowest effort, just a little 7-0 series in match play, and just rolled through the bracket.
Yeah, he kind of steamrolled all of his opponents. Paul McCordic up here in the 5th frame. Loft likes it again. Tell you, I don't know what kind of conversation he had with his brother Pete, but I believe that he owes Pete a big dinner when they're done, regardless of how this match turns out. Maybe I'll sneak in, I'll get a coffee or soda out of it.
McCordic family, a lifetime in the sport. And Paul trying to break through for his first PBA 50 win. Right now, Pete Weber standing in the way. And that one just a little bit lazy down in the back, and
Yeah,
doesn't make it back.
Little soft 10 for Pete. I'm sure he's not extremely happy about that. Although Pete has control of the pocket, Pete is always going to have control of the pocket, but he wants to figure out how to post a couple of strikes here. And, well, although he finds himself at a deficit right now, I'll guarantee you from Pete's standpoint, he does not want to see game 2.
Absolutely. The goal here for McCordic, out carry Pete Weber. So far, McCordic perfect through 5. Pete with a pair of 10 pins. Pete Weber, the 2013 PBA 50 Rookie of the Year. That included a win at the Senior Masters. And then the reigning PBA 50 Player of the Year. He's bowled this event again 2013 with a win, 2014 a 4th place finish, and last year losing twice as the top seed to become the runner-up. Back in the championship match again. You can't ask for more than that kind of run.
All you can do is put yourself in that situation, and Pete has found, well, not found, he has literally put himself in that situation week in and week out.
All right, Parker, you're Paul McCordic right now. You saw him talking to himself there. What's he saying?
Well, he gave that one some loft. He got it out there on the lane. Ball came in a little bit late. I know that he would love nothing more than to throw another strike there, just to continue pouncing on Pete as much as he possibly can. But he just has to fill the frame. Don't let it get the best of you.
And of course,
That's
yeah,
exactly
what
what you need to do. I mean, he's up by 30 pins now through 6 frames, and Pete's got to go out there and perform to throw strikes to catch him. And not that Pete can't do that. We all know that he certainly can. But Paul just can't let one frame get the best of him. Get up there now, make another great quality shot. Hopefully get it where it needs to be and knock all 10 over and come back and sit down.
All right, there you have it. McCordic leading by 30 over top seed Pete Weber. Will have to defeat Pete twice to claim his first PBA 50 title.
That's what he needs to do. Followed it up with a great quality shot, and you know, most tour veterans are going to do that exact same thing.
Well, the added pressure, of course, knowing that you probably have to be close to perfect if you're going to take down Pete Weber.
Yeah, you're not going to stumble upon this one. You're going to have to go out there and earn it. say that one there was a better shot. Didn't give the ball quite as much room to the right. Therefore, the ball was, I don't want to say online, but it was deeper into the pocket by all means. And we'll look at the way it went through the pins.
All right, Pete Weber trying to win his second USBC Senior Masters title. Got a great match here, high-scoring championship match.
Right now, it appears that it's going to be the highest match of the day so far. You had to expect that coming in, though.
There's Weber for 3 in a row.
Needs a little help. Oh, and he got it. He knew that wasn't his best shot off his hand, but makes a turn and goes around. And
McCordic is still in control, but cannot falter here late.
no, he better get up here and post a couple more strikes. Because if not, he's going to find himself needing some strikes as it gets down to crunch time in the 9th or 10th frame.
So Weber is going to close this match out first, put all the pressure on Paul potentially. Pete can get to 259. Paul still a chance at 279. Another no-doubter for the left-hander.
Pretty good shot there by Paul. A little bit inside down the lane, but he threw it aggressively. That little extra loft is certainly making a difference as the ball's going down there through the pins. Both players, it looks like if they get a little bit wide a target, the ball will still get the pocket. Just won't finish through the pins the way that they want it to. So that being said, keeping it, not going around the lane quite as much is making a definite difference as we watch them both getting up into the 9th frame here for Paul.
It's a huge 9th frame shot for McCordic.
Keeps all the pressure on Pete. Liking it. Little soft 7 there.
Well, now
Now
Paul makes this. Pete can step up and he can end this.
Pete can end it. It's all in his hands now. It's amazing the way that table turns.
Pete Weber can throw 4 strikes, and assuming that Paul makes this spare, and lock it up. Shut out Paul McCordic. We'll see on this spare shot. We'll tell the tale.
Taking his time, great spare shot.
All right, so the best Paul McCordic can do, 258. Pete Weber can step up, strike out in the 9th and 10th, lock out McCordic, win his second Senior Masters title, and become the first player in Senior Tour history to win 5 titles in a year. Here's Weber.
Got a little wide.
Got that one. Now the stage. Pete Weber, 3 in the 10th.
Yep.
He is your champion.
That was even he gave it a little sigh of relief. He knew that was a little bit wider than the last shot in that lane, but when you have that fine line hand-eye coordination there at the foul line, you give it a little extra. Well, he did right there, and it turned out to be dead flush, high perfect.
A little strategic re-rack here, no doubt, for a bit of a breather. 3 huge shots coming up here. History on the line. Anything less than 3 strikes here, and Paul McCordic has a chance to send this to a second championship game.
If I know Pete, Pete's not worried about the history as much as he just wants to win. He'll let everything else go into the record books the way that it falls. Looks pretty good. Nope.
And Pete, for the 3rd consecutive time at the Senior Masters, splits in the 10th frame. Last year,
that one he grabbed a little bit. Projection looked good off his hand, but he must have grabbed it a little bit as the ball hooks early and breaks loose, and he's not going to be happy about that one.
So it happened twice last year against Emilito Monticelli. Pete had to be defeated 2 times, and splits his undoing, and now McCordic stepping up.
Well, for sure, there's going to be a second game.
Absolutely. McCordic is going to win this game. Another great shot here. He delivers. It's over.
Yes.
So we're going to go to game 2.
Did. Stick around, everybody. Don't go anywhere, because game 2 is going to come up here in just a minute.
Pete Weber says he thought he threw that one really well, and the result, a split in the 10th frame. Paul McCordic, 1 win closer now.
Well,
to
Paul
his first.
I'll say this, Paul has really climbed up the mountain so far, and now they're both at the top of the plateau, because the old saying, now it's every man for himself, 10 frames in front of him.
And Parker, this is a relatively new change for this event, at least in my tenure here, as far as the having to beat the leader twice. With the stepladder format, it's changed over the years, and of course at the regular Masters, once you get to the TV portion of it, regardless of whether the top seed, well, in that case, would be undefeated, only has to be beaten once.
Mm-hmm.
So now the opportunity last year for Monticelli to step up and do that, and now for McCordic, certainly a little bit different, but the true essence of the double elimination, this is what it's all about.
It really is. You know, and thank goodness USBC has made that decision to allow the leader the second opportunity, if you want to say. Although I know, speaking on Pete's behalf, he did not want to see it get this far. But he knows right now, sitting in the chair, that he still does have another game under his belt. I think the biggest thing that Pete has to get through, regardless of what happens through the first 9 frames, he has to put that block out of his head as to what just happened in the 10th. Subconsciously, that can make a big difference as the game prevails and goes onward. But he's been there so many times. Just get up there and make the great shot that Pete Weber knows how to do, and see what happens.
Pete Weber, the USBC and PBA Hall of Famer, 37 PBA Tour titles, 10 majors included in there, and also 8 wins on the PBA Senior Tour, 4 of them coming this year in the last 5 events, and now in position again to win the USBC Senior Masters. Was our top seed last year, went on to finish second. Top seed again, was just defeated by Paul McCordic, 248-224 after an open in the 10th frame. Had the potential to step up and deliver, and now essentially this is it. This is our championship match. $16,000 to the winner, $9,000 to the runner-up. Paul McCordic looking for his first PBA 50 title.
There's no more second chances now. It's 10 frames. It's a definite sprint to the finish here. First frame, Paul McCordic. Threw that one pretty good.
All right, another great shot from McCordic to start off our second championship match here. This is Matt Cannizzaro alongside Hall of Famer Parker Bowden III and Aaron Smith here behind the scenes doing the stats and keeping things online there with social media. Great event this week.
Aaron is just quietly sitting here writing on the tablet, keeping everything up to pace. Thank goodness we got you around here, bud.
Here's Pete Weber, first shot.
First shot on the right lane, and no question about that one. I think you're going to see Pete get fired up here.
Pete didn't want to be in this position, was hoping to get it out of the way. First time around, double elimination now, his first loss of the year, and it's a must win. No more tries after this.
Yeah, well, this shot right here is going to have a lot to determine where this match is going to go. He thought he threw the last one good on this lane. Second frame, left lane. Got that one out and gave it a little more room, but that looked relatively close to the last shot. But I think the speed, he didn't grab that one. It floated down the lane. It did everything it's supposed to do. Easily 6-pin slaps a 10 out. Quick double for Weber.
All right, so Weber, countless titles. Paul McCordic looking for his first. Already defeated Weber one time. Parker, who do you think is feeling more pressure at this point?
There's no question that Paul McCordic's feeling more pressure. He hasn't been in this situation. He knows right now that it's just one game. It's him and the 10 pins, regardless of the opponent he's bowling. Great shot, slaps the 7 right out. But as much as he's feeling the pressure, he's also feeling the confidence too. He knows under his belt he just beat Pete with a solid 248 game. He knows he doesn't want to let go of that bar, and he's tasting it. He's feeling it.
Well, Paul McCordic, 3 clean games today, 225, 235, and 248. Now, potentially the biggest game of his career, or at least out here on the senior tour.
Both players with a double. Paul McCordic. Third frame. Running out again, switching him around. I'll tell you what, he's getting pumped up. But don't let it be denied. This guy getting up here right now, he's got a little emotion he can show too.
So we didn't get to see too much of that. His matches this week, I don't want to say they were easy wins, but he averaged more than 239 and wasn't challenged too many times.
No, he's got the challenge on hand right now.
Pete matches 3 for 3, so we are perfect here in our second championship match at the USBC Senior Masters.
Well, I know for a fact one match this week, Pete was down by 2 pins going into the last game and shot 300. So another match I believe that he bowled a very big last game as well. Even though the score, he probably didn't need the score. He definitely needed 300. Well, maybe not all of that, but he needed a big game the last game to overtake his opponent. So he's getting more and more comfortable on the lanes. Paul just better keep going because I expect Pete to as well. Got that one out. Yeah, he's getting fired up now.
Now, Pete Weber did defeat Paul McCordic earlier in the bracket in the match. Again, before the match that determined the 1-2 seeds. Pete won that match 703 to 639 and went on to play against Dave Arnold for the opportunity to be number 1. That sent Paul to the elimination shootout, which he won with a 738 series, dominating that 290 the first game on this pair of lanes.
I'm sure that he knows that, but I also know both players realize that 3-game match was then, now is now. 4th frame for Paul McCordic. Give it a little off. Rips the rack.
Well, if you're a bowling fan, you can't ask for anything better than this excitement. Paul McCordic defeating Pete Weber once already. Now both players perfect through 4.
Both players with the front 4 in the title match. The old saying, no holes barred. They're out there to get it.
A lot of bowling on TV today. The ladies doing it on live TV in Green Bay. And now, Senior Masters here. Tell your friends, tell everybody, get online. Check this out. Got almost 1,500 people watching. The best senior players in the world.
Looked like it lost. Yep, lost that one off his hand.
Ultimate price. Could have been a 3 or a 7, and he's got both.
That's not the one that he wanted to do, and especially in the situation right now. really has to go for this. He has to try to fill the frame. It's not a matter of getting one.
Gives it a run.
Giving a chance.
And he gets it.
Look at
Paul
that.
McCordic. Strike machine and a spare clinic here.
Yep, and Pete puts his hand out to give him 5 because if there's one thing, Pete, just like most great players, they appreciate good shot making. And he knows that that first shot slipped away from Paul, but he also knows Paul made an exceptional shot to fill the frame. So
Pete with the opportunity to take advantage of the miscue. Pete with the 6-10.
yeah, Pete grabbed that one a little bit, thumb down on it, faces up a little early, goes through the nose. Fortunately, breaking it down, leaving just the 6-10, but hopefully relatively easy spare. Put a little shout out to Clara Guerrero, who wins her first PWBA title here earlier today, so congratulations to her. You never forget the first title.
Saying a major nonetheless.
No, my God.
PWA Player Championship in Green Bay. Major on the line here in Las Vegas. It's quite the day for bowling.
Well, the ladies had their major, and we have our major right now. What a game. Tied through 5 frames. Come on. Pete is very happy with the fact that he got 9 on that one.
Pete not shy about telling you what he's thinking or what's going on out there.
He's not going to be quiet about it. Fills the frame.
Yeah, McCordic with a chance to capitalize on back-to-back spares from Weber. Even.
McCordic Paul just needs to make another great quality shot. He has to jump right back on that bandwagon and do what he's been doing for the most part since he's been out here on this championship pair. Gave it some loft. That looks pretty good. Sure is.
All right, so with that, McCordic takes a 1-pin lead. And a double here would be huge against Pete Weber. Paul McCordic looking for his first PBA 50 title. Pete Weber looking for his 5th of the season.
Yeah, but for Paul, it's not only the first, it's a major. You want to say it's a monkey off your back. He's not going to get a lot more opportunities, bigger and better than what they are currently. So reach back and grab and make the best shot you can and hope they all fall. That's about as good as it gets right there.
All right, McCordic, big double there. And the pressure on it, Mr. Weber. We've been here, well, this is the 4th time in 2 years. Pete with an opportunity to win this event.
I'll tell you what, if you were to think of these odds in any sports book, since we happen to be here in Vegas, the odds would have been insurmountable. But I certainly don't count Pete Weber out yet.
No doubt Pete is going to put the pressure on McCordic and make him step up and earn this title.
This is the key lane for Pete. This is the lane that was his own undoing there the game prior to in the 10th frame. Whether it was his own undoing or the lane. Breaking loose, going high, leaving a big split, and then last shot wasn't his best shot on this lane, but The fact that this is the 8th frame, if he's going to put any kind of pressure, Stoller, keep that pressure on Paul. He needs to make it another great quality shot here right now. Looks good. Oh, he likes that one.
There's the Pete Weber fire.
Yeah, it's Pete Weber fire. He liked that shot, obviously running it out.
Let's you see, that's just Pete Weber being Pete, but as the opponent, yeah, you know, is that designed a little bit to get to you, I think, as well.
Well, I mean, Paul's been around the block many a times, and he knows that Pete's going to bring it. He knows Pete's going to get animated. He still has to just stay within his own game. Do what he knows how to do best.
Oh, McCordic working on a double. Big shot here.
Looks pretty good. Boom. That was as good as you can throw it once again. I'll tell you right now, regardless of how the outcome turns out the 9th and 10th frame, if there's one thing that Paul McCordic needs to take out of today, and today only, he has posted one good quality shot after another one. When you make those great shots off your hand, you start to get those good breaks. You get those little switcher strikes. Things happen in a positive way. It really turns out to be unbelievable what can happen when you make one good shot after another.
Well, we need one more out of Paul McCordic here. For those of you just tuning in, the exciting conclusion of the 2016 USBC Senior Masters.
9th frame. Paul McCordic, he's kind of liking off his hand, rips the rack.
Absolutely, the four-bagger. Pete Weber can get up, he can get to the 260s, and that should make potential excitement for us here in the 10th frame.
Well, it's going to make excitement, but I'm going to tell you right now that no matter what Weber does, Paul's sitting in the chair knowing that he controls his own destiny. All the pressure's on Pete. Pete thrives on pressure. Oh, stuck at the foul line.
Yes, the 10 to go. Nice break there. Pete has been having trouble with the approaches all week, he said. Sticking quite a few times, and we saw that in practice earlier, but seemed to be unfazed during the first 19 frames of this match. But nice break there to get the 3-bagger.
Good break. I know it was the 9th frame. I mean, unbelievable when you look at it, but I'm thinking that, you know, if he does that two-step a little bit more, maybe Tracy will take him out dancing next week.
Pete Weber in the 10th. Has not marked in the 10th frame at the Senior Masters.
Yeah, well, I don't think that's going to happen this time. Posted that one and got it out on the lane.
Gets the first one. Again, the pressure all will be on Paul McCordic here if Pete can get this second one. Paul cannot be shut out. Will have a chance to win his first PBA 50 title, first major. Motivated Pete Weber with the 4-bagger. Double in the 10th here is huge.
Pete getting up here in the 11th frame, trying to put all the pressure back on Paul.
Huge shot for Weber.
Giving it the room, making a great shot.
The fist pump. Pete can get to 267.
I would expect nothing less from the great Pete Weber. But this fill ball is just as important here. This fill ball, if Pete strikes here, Paul has to get up and throw a double. Anything less than a strike, Paul can get up and potentially win it with strike 9 spare. Gets it out in the lane.
Pete gets 9, finishes with 266.
What a great game by Pete Weber. Paul asking for a re-rack on the right lane.
McCordic.
You know, Paul's made a lot of great shots this game. Obviously, Pete did too, but regardless of how many great shots he's made so far, he has to get up here and make 2 of the best shots he's ever made in his career. And when we say 2, the first shot better knock them all over.
McCordic must strike on his first shot here. Still can get to 278.
He's put himself in this situation because of a lot of great shots. Right now, the thought process for him is just get up there and make another good one. Can't determine what's going to happen after the ball's off your hand, but what you do prior to that point, you can determine a lot of it.
Paul McCordic must strike.
Lost it a little bit off his hand,
And he
but
gets it.
rips the rack.
That one important. This one even more important.
Paul McCordic jumping out of his shoe on that one.
Paul in the 260s.
9 spare is a winner. 8 spare is a tie.
Paul McCordic did not come here for a tie. Biggest shot of his PBA 50 career right here.
That was big, and this is bigger. Looks a little wide. He lost it off his hand. Oh my goodness.
Paul McCordic, 6 counts.
6 count tells the story. 6 spare for Paul McCordic gives him 264. Pete Weber 266 is a winner sitting on the bench.
Holy moly, blowing fence.
Would have never seen that one coming there.
Paul McCordic needing 9. Gets 6. Pete Weber wins the USBC Senior Masters in 2016, 266, 263. And an unbelievable finish there. His second USBC Senior Masters title, had one in 2013. First player in PBA 50 history to win 5 titles in a year. That's 5 out of 6 events for Mr. Weber. A dramatic finish here at Samstown Bowling Center. Pete Weber, the top seed, needed to be defeated twice, as he did last year. And it comes down to the final shot of the day. Parker, what can you say about that finish?
Well, I mean, Pete did exactly what he needed to do in the 10th frame. He stepped up. He got past all the splits that happened, all the demons. He put them behind him, and he made 3 quality shots, threw the first 2 strikes, and got 9 on a fill ball. And you know, all he can do as a player, you sit down on the bench and you watch your opponent get up there. And, well, Paul gets up there. Looked like he lost the first one off his hand a little bit, but jumping out of his shoe, he just came back and ripped the rack. And at that point, that was one good shot, but he's got to follow it up with another one. And he took his time, got up there to make the next one, and unfortunately, it just right off his hand, off his thumb. Could be because of the situation, could be just what's going on, but I'm going to say it this way. Paul McCordic bowled absolutely phenomenal, not just today, but all week long. He's got to take away from all the positives and look at the fact that he had one great event and take nothing behind the fact that, unfortunately, he lost to Pete Weber.
All right, heartbreaking loss for Paul McCordic. History-making win for Pete Weber. Here's the trophy presentation at Samstown Bowling Center. Pete Weber, your 2016 USBC Senior Masters champion in dramatic fashion, 266, 263 against Paul McCordic. Weber's second title at this event, and redemption from last year, losing to Amleto Monticelli twice in the championship match. Wasn't going to let that happen again this year. Put himself in position with great shots down the stretch.
Well, if you put yourself in that situation enough times, eventually you start to close the door. And Pete Weber's closed the door on many, many opponents. Last year, unfortunately, he gave himself an opportunity, and the unfortunate splits that happened in the 10th frame, it's part of bowling. It's part of life. And then he makes a bad shot, or, well, I don't want to say a bad shot, but he thought he threw it good there, and unfortunately it jumped high and pays the full penalty again with a split in the 10th frame. And you have to forget about it. So he got up in the 10th frame this time, and he made the shots that we all know that he can, and fortunately it paid off for him.
It's always nice, but you have to feel for Paul, and I feel for Paul. I mean, I've done it too, and I know what it feels like. So, my hat's off to Paul McCordic, both great. I have the utmost respect for Paul. So, Paul's great bowling. I'm sorry it ended that way for you. But like I said, it's nice to win. It's nice to have the trophy. It's nice to have the check. Thanks, Dad.
An emotional Pete Weber picking up.
Congratulations, Pete, and all the bowlers.
Very special.
He doesn't get choked up much, so you know how much it means to him.
Very special thanks to Mike Kaufman and Tom Pippinger. The tournament wouldn't be a success without all the hard work that the bowling group was in. So thank you very much. Congratulations, Pete. Look forward to seeing you very soon.
All right, folks, there it is. Pete Weber, your 2016 USBC Senior Masters champion. Again, dramatic fashion. If you missed any of this match, definitely go back and watch it in the archives. Unbelievable finish once again. Pete Weber and company never disappoint. We do appreciate all the support this week at Samstown Bowling Center in Las Vegas. And our gold industry partners, Columbia 300, Hammer, Kegel, and Storm. And, of course, Hall of Famer Parker Bone III for joining us on today's telecast, as well as Aaron Smith behind the scenes, keeping things going, getting the stats to us, and keeping the world updated on what's happening here. Parker, thank you very much for being here today.
You're certainly welcome. It's my pleasure. It's been a great time. It just seems like every time I sit in this booth, though, things have to go the distance, and whoever's the leader has to go the second game. So I don't know if maybe they like me there, being here, or if you like me here, but thanks again for the invite.
Well, we do appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you here again next year, possibly on the other side of the cameras. I think that would be the preference, and hopefully that will happen. I know you'll keep doing what you do. Had a great week here this week.
Well, thanks. We'll certainly work on it. You know, this week's behind me, obviously, but that being said, we're going to try to keep the striking ball moving forward and see what we can make happen next year or next week.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for the 2016 USBC Senior Masters here at Samstown Bowling Center. Emotional win for Pete Weber. If you missed any of the week's action, you can check it out in the archives, and we'll see you again soon on Bowl TV. That's the news for now. We'll see you on the lanes.